It happened to me 2 years ago, during my final semester at college. The campus had started offering a 24-hour study hall inside the old humanities building because exams were only a week away. Most students preferred studying in their dorms, but I could never concentrate there. The old reading room on the third floor was always silent, and I usually had it almost entirely to myself. That Friday evening, I arrived just after 7. Outside, heavy rain hammered against the tall windows. Every few minutes, thunder shook the building, making the ancient shelves creak softly. I plugged in my laptop, opened my notes, and completely lost track of time. When I finally checked my phone, it was 11:18 p.m. The room was empty. Not a single student remained. Even the librarian had already gone home because security officers were supposed to lock the building after midnight. I packed my books, stretched my aching back, and headed toward the door. The hallway outside felt strangely different. The fluorescent lights flickered one after another, creating long patches of darkness between them. Every sound echoed through the empty corridor. That's when I heard it. Tap, drag, tap, drag. It sounded like someone was walking with one injured leg. The footsteps were slow, painfully slow. I froze. Maybe another student? Maybe a janitor? I called out. Hello? No answer. Only tap, tap, drag. The sound was getting closer. A cold feeling spread through my stomach. I grabbed my backpack and hurried toward the staircase. The footsteps stopped. Complete silence. I looked behind me. Nothing. The hallway was empty. Trying to convince myself I was imagining things, I hurried downstairs. The main entrance was only a minute away. As I reached the lobby, I noticed someone standing beside the large glass doors. It was a woman. She wasn't moving. She simply stood there facing outside. Her gray coat hung loosely from her thin body, dripping wet as though she'd been standing in the rain for hours. Something about her posture felt wrong. Her head leaned unnaturally to one side. I swallowed. "Excuse me." The woman didn't react. I took another step. Without turning around, she disappeared. Not walked away, not ran. 1 second she was there. The next, she was gone. I rushed outside without looking back. The rain had completely stopped. The parking lot should have been full of cars. Instead, every parking space was empty. Even stranger, the street beyond the campus was deserted. No headlights, no passing cars, no people, only silence. An uncomfortable silence so complete that I could hear my own heartbeat. I pulled out my phone. No signal. I started walking home as quickly as I could. About 10 minutes later, I noticed something strange on the pavement. A shadow, long, thin, stretching toward me, but there was nobody behind me to cast it. Slowly, I looked up. A woman was walking several meters ahead. She moved with the same uneven limp I'd heard inside the building. Tap, drap, drag. Her clothes looked decades old. One sleeve hung empty, fluttering with every step. Her long black hair covered most of her face. Every instinct told me not to get closer. So I slowed down, but somehow she slowed down too. The distance between us never changed. Then, without turning around, she spoke, in a cracked whisper barely louder than the wind. "Have you seen my son?" My blood turned to ice. She still wasn't facing me. She couldn't possibly know I was behind her. Again, "Have you seen my little boy?" I couldn't move. The woman's voice echoed through the empty street. "Have you seen my little boy?" She still hadn't turned around. Every part of me screamed to run, but my legs refused to obey. My mouth had gone completely dry. "I haven't," I whispered. The woman stopped walking. The silence that followed was unbearable. Slowly, impossibly slowly, she began turning her head. Not her body, only her head. It twisted farther than any human neck should allow, until one pale eye became visible beneath the tangled strands of black hair. The eye wasn't looking at me. It looked through me. Then she smiled. It wasn't angry. It wasn't threatening. It was the smile of someone who had forgotten how people were supposed to smile. Her lips stretched unnaturally wide. "You've seen him." "I haven't," I shouted. For the first time, she turned her entire body toward me. One arm hung motionless at her side. The other held an old stuffed rabbit soaked by years of rain. It looked ancient, almost rotten. "He was holding this," she whispered. "He dropped it. He must be nearby." She took one limping step toward me. Tap, drag, another step, tap, drag. I backed away until my shoulders hit a metal fence. There was nowhere left to go. Then somewhere behind me I heard a child's laughter, soft, playful. It came from inside the abandoned city park across the street. The woman instantly stopped moving. Her eyes widened. My Daniel. Without another word, she hurried toward the park. I didn't wait to see what happened. I ran. I don't remember how long I ran. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe 20. Eventually, I reached a small convenience store that was somehow still open. The elderly cashier looked surprised to see me. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he joked. I tried laughing. Instead, I nearly collapsed. After drinking some water, I told him everything, every detail, the hallway, the footsteps, the woman, the stuffed rabbit. The old man became completely silent. Finally, he asked, "Did she ask about a little boy?" I nodded. His face turned pale. He locked the front door before speaking again. "When I was a teenager," he said quietly, "that park wasn't abandoned. There used to be apartment buildings behind it." I listened without interrupting. In 1987, there was a massive apartment fire. The firefighters managed to rescue dozens of people, but one child was never found. The boy's name was Daniel Harper. He was 7 years old. His mother searched the burning building until firefighters dragged her away. She never accepted that he had died. For years, she wandered the neighborhood every evening asking strangers if they'd seen her son. People eventually stopped answering. One winter night, she disappeared. No one ever found her body. The cashier looked directly into my eyes. But every few years, someone claims she found them first. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that impossible smile. The next morning, I convinced myself exhaustion had caused everything. Stress, lack of sleep, too much caffeine, nothing more. Then my phone rang. It was campus security. "Is this Ethan Brooks?" "Yes. We found your student ID." My heart skipped a beat. Where?" "In the old humanities building, 3rd floor." But I never dropped it. I remembered putting it back into my wallet before leaving. Still, I returned that afternoon. The building looked completely normal. Students filled the hallways. The reading room buzzed quietly with whispered conversations. Nothing felt unusual. The security guard handed me my ID. "It was lying beside shelf 19, he said. "You must have been in a hurry." I thanked him and started to leave. Then something caught my eye. On the wall hung an old black and white photograph of the campus from the early 1980s. At first, I barely glanced at it. Then I froze. Standing beside the front entrance was the same woman, the same gray coat, the same tilted head, the same face. I asked the librarian about the picture. She frowned. I've never noticed her before. An hour later, she returned carrying an archive folder. Inside were newspaper clippings. One headline read, "Local Mother Continues Search for Missing Son." Another, "Search Called Off After Apartment Fire." Then I saw her name, Margaret Harper, not Daniel's ghost, his mother's. According to the newspaper, Daniel's body had never been recovered. Investigators believed part of the basement had collapsed, burying him beneath the rubble forever. Margaret refused to believe it. Every evening she wandered the streets carrying his favorite stuffed rabbit. She asked everyone the same question, "Have you seen my little boy?" She continued searching for nearly 4 years before vanishing without a trace. No body, no explanation, only rumors. As I closed the archive folder, something soft fell onto the table, a faded photograph. Margaret, holding Daniel's hand. In his other hand, the exact stuffed rabbit I had seen the previous night. A cold wave rushed through my body. I left immediately. For months, nothing happened. Life slowly returned to normal, until one evening, my apartment building lost power. The hallway outside my door fell completely dark. Then, from somewhere below, I heard it. Tap, drag, tap, drag. The sound climbed one floor, then another, then another. It stopped outside my apartment. A long silence followed. Then, through the wooden door, a quiet whisper. "So, have you found him yet?" I never opened that door. When the electricity returned a few minutes later, the hallway was empty. No footsteps, no neighbors, nothing. But every October, on the anniversary of the apartment fire, I hear those same footsteps somewhere outside my home. Slow, patient, still searching. And I know one terrifying truth. She isn't looking for her son anymore. She's looking for the last person who spoke to her. Me.